All right, there we go. Gonna stream tonight. Make it stream. All right. Yeah, I think I've got this kind of figured out. Hello, everybody. Today's prompt for Inktober is fall. That one stumped me for a little while, but ultimately I thought of Boba Fett falling into the Sarlaac pit. So I'm going to do a take on that today, and yeah, wish me luck. Here we go. Hold on one sec. Let me clear my throat. Sorry, excuse me. Wow. Hello. Let's see. We've got a bunch of people already. Hello, Jesus, Brian Spaceboy, Kiro, Sigamix, Charles, Keith. Wow. Thank you all very much for joining me. That's lovely. That's really awesome. Hope everybody's doing all right today. Oh yeah. Let me get started without any further ado. Hope everybody's having an okay weekend. Yeah. Hey, J-Rod, how's it going, my friend? Looks like you had some time to make a puzzle today. That sounds nice. Been working on sort of cleaning our house up, and Chrissy and I went shopping for the kids that come trick-or-treating. Now, at the place where we live, we've never really gotten more than, say, 8 or so kids. So we were like, you know what? Every year we buy a couple candy bags with like a lot of bite-sized stuff, and we always have a ton left over. Let's instead just go all out in getting like basically big party bags for like 10 kids. So we got like big full-size candy bars. We got comic books because today's like a free comic book day. We got activity books at the dollar store, like, you know, Ninja Turtles and Frozen and stuff like that. And then we got tiny Lego sets. And we're putting all that together, and the first 10 kids, and honestly, we probably would be lucky to get 10, we'll all get these huge party bags. Brian Spaceboy says, why haven't you subbed me yet, Chris? Who are you? Do we know each other? I don't recognize the screen name. Do we know each other? Help me out. Anyway, I'm pretty excited about what we're doing. So we may only get a few trick-or-treaters, but they are going to love our house, I think. Oh, you're joking. Okay. TARDIS Rider says, I always give out comics, usually kids' books from Free Comic Book Day. Yeah, there's like a second Free Comic Book Day for Halloween, and that's this weekend. So Chrissy and I picked up a bunch of kids' comic books at the comic book store, and we'll give those out. Hopefully kids like it. And if they don't, I'll probably never hear about it, so that's fine. Anybody go out to the movies or anything this weekend? Or got a party tonight? I guess tonight's a pretty big night for going to a party. But I don't think we've got any friends that are having one, so we're gonna just hang out at home. Probably watch some Stranger Things season 2 tonight. we started it. It's pretty good so far. Did you get the free Simonson Thor today? There was quite a lot of good stuff today free. Hello, Shirley. No, TARDIS Rider. I didn't pick that one up because I already have it, and I was going for like even younger stuff just in case. But I did think about it strongly. I don't think it would have been at all inappropriate to pick up, but ultimately, I did not. But personally, I absolutely adore that run. I think it's one of the finest runs in all of superhero comics. And it was pretty cool that it was one of the books that they had out there. Makes a lot of sense with the Thor movie about to come out that they would Marvel would promote pretty much their best Thor run ever. J-Rod says, I stayed home and wrote and did jigsaw puzzles, and it was the best. Also, Stranger Things started strong. Definitely. I think Stranger Things' second season was better than the first, says TARDIS Rider. Well, I'm only 2 episodes in, so I don't know. I can't make those judgment calls yet, but yeah, so far so good. Kind of cool when something like becomes popular and it's actually good, so you don't mind like everybody being into it. Sad. Midtown Comics won't deliver to Puerto Rico right now. Yeah, I'm not surprised. I'm sorry, Kiro. Do you have a reliable uh, internet signal at this point, or any timeline on when you can expect reasonable uh, energy, like power, electricity, or is it all still up in the air? Any other favorite current TV shows? Asks Sigamigs. I love Last Man on Earth. That's funny. I've been trying Ghosted, and that's pretty good. What else is on right now that I'm enjoying? Nathan for You on Comedy Central. So these are all comedies. Um, I'll watch the CW superhero shows. I don't know that any of them are exceptional, but I think that they're pretty fun. They're all pretty good. That's about it, I guess. Oh no, on HBO, Vice Principals and Curb Your Enthusiasm are both pretty excellent. Uh, I really like Vice Principals. That is as a dark comedy. I kind of like that. I like dark comedies and awkward comedies. Let me hold this. Yeah, okay. Put this over here a little. I'm gonna adjust something on the camera. I'll be just a second. There. Autofocus was on, but now, yeah, now it should stay still. Good. Aldi says, dang it, I'm always a few minutes late, or I'm a few minutes early. TARDIS Rider says, oh wait, I missed a few things. Okay, Shirley asks, what am I drawing today? Boba Fett from Star Wars. Specifically a scene from Return of the Jedi, the third movie. or at least my interpretation of it. And then TARDIS Rider asked me, I have the whole Simonson Thor run, but was today's book a reprint? I thought it was new. Haven't looked at it yet. Oh, I didn't look either. I was assuming it was a reprint based on the cover, but maybe it wasn't. Did anybody pick up the Walt Simonson Thor book today? See, I thought he was busy working on Ragnarok at IDW these days, so I didn't think he had time to do something new for Marvel. He's doing his own sort of creator-owned thing, his own take on Thor. Not really Thor so much as Norse mythology. Very different than his run on Thor, actually. Mark Bariner says, I watch Nathan for You on your recommendation. Good call. Oh, man, I love that show. It's so crazy. His ideas are so convoluted. TARDIS Rider says, maybe not everyone's cup of tea, but season 2 of Haters Back Off just came out on Netflix. I like it. I haven't heard of that one. Haters Back Off. Try to remember that. Melissa Morg, hello. Thank you very much for joining us. J-Rod says it is a reprint with a Lee Kirby book backup. Well, good. That's, I mean, as far as free comics go, that sounds pretty fantastic. I'll tell you, I mean, that's from 30 years ago, and I just read it this past week. It holds up so well. It's just, yeah. The Walt Simonson run on Thor is something pretty special. So pretty cool that they had that as a free book today. Anybody else out there a Star Wars nerd? I kind of am. I like Stars Wars. Although I think it should be called Stars War, because now that I'm thinking of it, it was about one war. It wasn't multiple wars. It was about one war, and it took place across multiple stars. So it should be called Stars War. I'll go right to Disney. Aldi loves Boba Fett. Have I read the current Star Wars comics? Some of them, and they're really cool. I've read a bunch of like the early stuff that Jason Aaron wrote when Marvel got the license, but I probably haven't read it in about a year at this point, maybe a little less. But yeah, I need to catch up on a bunch of it. I was getting the Marvel Unlimited subscription so that I could read everything they did digitally. But something weird happened the last time I had to renew, and I just haven't like gone out of my way to fix it yet. Terrible, I know. There's definitely kids screeching out there today. Oh, it's the weekend, so they're all playing at the playground across the street. Sun's still up for a little bit. Let's see. Hero says Zachary Levi will play Shazam. I don't see it. I don't know that I see it either, but I'm not the Shazam is fine, but I'm also not like the world's biggest fan of Shazam, so I'm kind of like willing to say like, all right, well, let's see what they do with it. I'm definitely in the wait and see on that one. I'm not going to get too worked up about it. Okay. There's more questions. Let's see what else is being asked. Stars War doesn't roll off the tongue as easily. That's only because you're used to saying Stars War. Wait, Star Wars. See? It's just that easy. Few new people jump in. Aliens are noobs. Just came to say have great days, all of you. That's very kind. Doc Reasonable. Good day from Australia. Good day, mate. How was that accent? Good day, mate. That's the best I can do. Ghost Dog's here. He says, everyone can stop demanding my presence. Mark asks, have I ever watched Review with Andrew? He says Levy, but I think you mean Andy Daly. Yes, Andrew Daly is a hilarious comedian. If he's on a podcast, I'm there. Yeah, Andy Daly's a really funny guy. Just laying in some blacks here, so I'm going a little slow, and I quiet down sometimes when I have to do fine detail. It's not me ignoring everybody. Just getting lost in the process a little bit here and there. But I really enjoy talking to everybody. Yeah, I think that's one of the first sort of important things I need to do is spot my blacks. Then I'll do some details. I love classic Captain Marvel, hate modern dark Shazam. I haven't read any modern Shazam, but I also did like the Fawcett stuff by Beck. That was fun comics. I did like that era. Talkie Tawny, Mr. Mind. Wonder if they'd be so bold as to do something like use Mr. Mind as the main villain in a big live action movie. That would be hilarious. Mr. Mind is an intelligent evil worm for anyone that doesn't read Captain Marvel, or Shazam as it's called now. Hey, Mike. Hello, Morgan Moore. Nice to have some new folks jumping in. Chris, have you considered renaming your channel to attract more viewers? Wouldn't I have to just start a completely new channel if I wanted to rename it? I have thought of like what I could call it instead, but you know, I think ultimately it really is going to be the content that attracts people more than like the name. And so I'm trying not to like sort of overthink some of the littler stuff. I mean, I don't want to ignore something basic, but yeah. As it stands right now, I'm probably not going to change it. Well, what do you guys think I should call the show instead? Or call my channel instead? And then I'll look at the question in just a moment. Okay, what else? Do you think Image has become the new Vertigo? Not quite, Sigamigs. You know what Vertigo had going for it was it who was that editor in charge? Was it Karen Berger? It's been a few years now since I've thought about it, but she really, I don't know, she was looking for specific things in Vertigo comics, and Image is a little bit more of like variety, which is no problem with any of that, but it's not quite the same as what Vertigo was going for. I don't know if we'll ever have another Vertigo. I think it was to a large extent the editors that brought in very particular talent at a certain time that made it what it was. Have you ever read some of these questions and thought, what a stupid question, or haven't I already answered that? I've never thought, what a stupid question. No, no, I really haven't. Um, every once in a while I go, I've answered it, but whatever. I don't have a tremendous audience, so I don't mind answering it again. Yet. So, yeah. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Man, my Twitter feed must have a lot of Nintendo fans because it felt like everyone was talking about playing Super Mario Odyssey today, and I got very jealous. I have a friend, a former coworker, who started a live stream today to play it, and he had purchased it digitally. And as he was setting up his channel, there's a knock at the door, and Amazon delivers him a physical copy, but they had delivered it 24 hours late, so they didn't charge him. So he had 2 copies of the game. I was pretty jealous of that. And then he's just playing a video game, and his viewers started paying him like $100 and stuff, and I was like, what's going on here? $100? I go, I'm in the wrong line of work. So I thought that was pretty amazing. I had no idea that streaming video games was as popular as it was. But he has a lot more subscribers than I do. He has like 10,000. I haven't looked in a long time, but maybe 2,000. Still, yeah, I have to admit it though. That made me a tiny bit jealous seeing him get like a second free copy of the game and getting paid like that kind of money. It's like, what? He's just playing a game. I'm actually creating something. But that's not to take away from this guy as a person, because he's an incredible like programmer, and he's organized a bunch of people to do all sorts of mods for Super Smash Brothers, and it's used in a lot of tournaments and stuff. So he's creative in his own ways. I'm creative in others. All right, I've been talking long enough. What are folks asking? I need to shrink that and that. Okay. Doc reads a moment ago. No. Mark asks if I remember the Shazam on Saturday mornings. Are you talking about the live action one? I do remember that a little bit. Yeah. That nicest. TARDIS Rider remembers. And then went into a conversation about something I don't know. If you could enter the world of one comic book superhero, no, forget superheroes, any one comic book, you could enter that world, what world would you choose to enter? Let me know. Hello, Anja. I would enter the world of ODC, like Odyssey, I guess. Odyssey. I don't know that one. What is that from Sigamigs? Who created that? All right, time to switch pens. Mike says, I've been reading Green Lantern from the beginning, and it's so cool watching both Broom and Kane evolve and grow. It's sad that where I'm at, they're not on the book much longer, not consistently anyway. Oh, it's a Matt Fraction book, Odyssey. I like Matt Fraction, so I'll keep that in mind. Mark says, I'm glad you guys can verify the Freak Brothers. I was surprised that Skunk Ape wasn't familiar with them. What can I say? It's my new catchphrase. What do you guys think? I don't know. What can I say? Skunk Ape guy's an idiot. God damned idiot. Doesn't know the Freak Brothers. There are days, folks, where I question whether I should even be alive. I call those days days that end with a Y. TARDIS Rider says, Skunk Ape doesn't smoke weed. That's true. TARDIS Rider says, I'd enter the world of Mad Magazine. They could enter any comic book. Maybe Trump would make sense. Hey, chinga tu pelo. F your hair. Morgan Moore says, do you think a weekly Star Wars show would have been successful in the 70s? Yeah, it probably would have been successful. I don't know if they would have had the ability to make it any good. It would depend on where they set their ambitions with it. Would it have been successful? Yeah, I mean, stuff like Battlestar Galactica was basically successful. You know, something with the name recognition of Star Wars. Yeah, I think it would have been successful. I don't know if it would have been quality. It's an interesting question, though. Bunch of people just checking out Freak Brothers. I don't know. All right, see you, Shirley. Thanks for stopping in. Doc Razorville says Morgan Moore. Battlestar Galactica was the weekly Star Wars show back then. Sucked though. You know, it's like I said. Was it popular? It kind of was. Was it quality? Not really, but it had elements that we kind of liked at the time. I mean, there were some good spaceship special effects by Gary Dykstra, but then they were like way overused because they just reused the same shots. There were cool concepts, but they weren't always explored very well. So it's, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully that makes sense. Morgan Moore says, I loved Battlestar Galactica and Buck Rogers. Uh, yeah, you know what? It's funny. As a kid, I liked Buck Rogers too. And then I sort of watched a rerun, I don't know when, but it was like a few years back. And I was like, oh my God, like, this is pretty cheesy, low budget stuff. And that bird person character that becomes his best friend in season two is absolutely hilarious. And I totally see where Dan Harmon took the idea for bird person on Rick and Morty. What was he called? It was called like Hawk Person or something like that. Hawkman, Birdman. I don't know. I can't remember now. Chris, have you ever watched the classic British TV show Are You Being Served? Yes, but not in quite a long time. Wait, let me think. Am I thinking of the right one? Are You Being Served? Was Are You Being Served about the like the butlers and housemaids and stuff? Is that the right one? It's been a long time. I'm not sure if I'm thinking of the right show. Oh, it's set in the department store. Right, right, right. Yes, yes. Yeah, didn't they actually just do like some sort of like a an episode like that was like they I don't know if they brought back like the living cast members or if it was just like an homage or what, but I think that they just like last year or not even a full year ago, I think that they like brought it back for one special episode on the BBC. But I didn't see that. But I do tend to enjoy British comedy quite a bit. I got into some British comedies a few years back, says Mike L. Faulty Towers, Black Books, The IT Crowd. Yep, good stuff. TARDIS writer said they did a new cast recreation of Are You Being Served, and it was terrible. Ew, yeah, it it didn't look like something I wanted to check out, so I avoided that one. I guess I'm glad I did. I think you'd have to really re-envision the show quite a bit to make it work today. I just don't think. I don't know. I was gonna say like I don't know how a department store like sitcom would work in today's day and age, but I guess there is one on NBC, but I haven't seen it. That shows Superstore, so I don't know if that's any good or not, but I've never seen it. Oh, Mark Berner says the young ones. Yes. Oh, boy, that was good. The Young Ones and Black Adder were the best comedies ever. Black Adder's okay, but I definitely really loved The Young Ones. Cornflakes, 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 cornflakes. I like the one that started like an episode of like Dynasty or Dallas, and they're going, "Oh my God, I'm turning into a computer." Oh wow, it's been a long time since I've watched that, but I can still quote lines from it. That's a sign that I liked it. Yeah, The Young Ones is really funny. And it's short. It's only like 6 episodes or something. They didn't make that many. Maybe there was 2 seasons. It's hard to remember. Whatever they did, I watched it, but yeah, good show. I know I missed a few things. TARDIS Writer says Superstore is pretty good for a mainstream comedy. Chris, would you cover heavy metal as info VI like you did for that guy that did Uzumaki? Don't quite understand what you were typing out there, comic book guy. I may talk about heavy metal at some point. I have to think about it. Mike L says that he worked at Walmart for over 3 years and he loves Superstore. It's not close to accurate, but it is funny. And he recommends Red Dwarf. And here's that they're going to make more Red Dwarf. I heard the same. I'm sure that they will. Quark was an awesome show that no one seems to remember. It was American, too. Quark? Huh. Yeah, Aldi, I think I'm Rob Liefeld. No, this is just how Boba Fett was, and who knows? Maybe that's some of the inspiration for Liefeld including so many pouches on his characters, in some fashion. But I tend to doubt it. It's fun to talk about comedies. I like talking about comedy, I guess. I've always been a fan of different types of comedy, studying comedy. Back when I was in college, I used to do stand-up and improv. I really liked it a lot. Don't know if you guys ever watch like the Hangover movies or that show Dr. Ken, but that's a friend of mine from college, Ken Jung. We used to do stand-up together, improv, along with another friend of ours, Mike O'Connell, who was a producer on Ken's show this last year and the year before. So, yeah, that was something I used to do a lot of when I was younger. Every once in a while I think about doing some more, but it's so busy. It's hard to carve out time for something like that. Hi, Julio. Sigmigs asks, have you ever watched the movie Four Lions, a British comedy about terrorists? No, I don't know that one. Huh. That's interesting. Dan Hurd asks, didn't Deadpool steal Cable's teleportation device? Maybe. I don't know. Thanks for the compliment, Doc. And yes, TARDIS Rider. Yes, Julio, he is a doctor, and yeah, I'm friends with him in real life. I mean, we don't get to hang out much because we don't live in the same town or anything, but talk here and there. He's a real down-to-earth, friendly, smart, very smart guy. Yeah, I love Ken. Good job on sticking with Inktober. No small feat and almost there. Thank you, Plum Dog. I agree. It is. Yeah, the video for what's it going to be, Mike? That my friend Mike O'Connell is the guy singing that song. He wrote it. Ken appears in it. Yeah, those are like two of my absolute best friends in college, Mike and Ken. Yeah. We all used to do an actual sketch comedy show as well as improv and stand up. We did a sketch comedy show when we were in college on the with the school's cable equipment and stuff. But when we graduated, we snuck in and stole all the tapes because we didn't want it to still play after we had left. It wasn't necessarily that great either. But yeah, we did that for like 3 years, I guess. Yeah, 3 years. Um, Doc Reasonable says, everyone digging Silicon Valley, the show that is? Oh my God, yes. That is a great one. Thomas Middleditch is a genius. He really is. I mean, the whole cast is. I used to do this podcast about the game Call of Duty years ago. And it was a pretty popular podcast in its own way. And I would interview guests every once in a while, like either game developers or pro gamers. And one time I had Kumail Nanjiani on the show. He wasn't on TV or anything back then. He was just a stand-up comic, and he loved video games. And he was like one of the friendliest guys I ever got to speak with. It was a real pleasure. And I loved his movie that came out this past year, The Big Sick. I don't know if anybody else caught that one, but I thought it was really good. All right, I feel like I'm name dropping tonight. I'll stop. I'll stop. Oh, Mike says he misses the indoor kids. Me too. Me too. Yeah, that was good. I think you have to be smart to do comedy. Of course, no one thinks I'm funny. So, well, no, you're quite stupid. Tardis, right? I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's probably mean if I don't know you. I can't joke like that. I apologize. I'm just being silly. Um, Comic book guy, that Captain America comic should not cost much. Like, I don't know if it's the easiest thing to find, but if you find it, it is not going to cost you much. That was not an especially popular time for Captain America. So good luck with your search. If you find it, you might want to get the issue before and after it to get the full story. But yeah. Doc Reasonable says, Tales from the Tour Bus, new Mike Judge animated show, highly recommended. Oh, I'll keep that in mind. I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it yet. Would you say that it compares to anything else that he's done before, or is it completely original? What? I would say that Silicon Valley is easily my favorite thing that Mike Judge has ever created or worked on. I really like it. Oh, Julio didn't like the last season of what do you call it? Silicon Valley. I did. Um, I've never been disappointed by it personally, but yeah, to each their own. Though some shows I don't even try to sort of analyze. I just sort of like decide this is just going to be my time to relax, and I'm not going to compare it to any other shows or previous seasons. I might like retroactively when it finishes its run, but there's some shows that I basically give sort of a pass to, and I just sort of watch them. And I admit that that's one of them. I don't really watch it with a critical eye at all, if that makes sense. think that there were some more questions there, so I'll go back in just a moment. I know I'm a little quiet. Uh, Mike L says, Chris, are you into history? There's an amazing podcast called Dan Carlin's Hardcore History that you'd love if you are. I'm into certain eras of history, but I suppose any of it could interest me. Like the frontier, American frontier, the Wild West. That I definitely find interesting. Um, Certain aspects of World War II, specifically the Pacific Theater, I find interesting. Ancient Rome, I know that's a massive time period, but I do find that kind of interesting. When I travel, I do tend to read up on the history of wherever I'm going and look for sort of the oldest sites and try to understand the culture. So yeah, I definitely find certain parts of history interesting. So Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. All right, cool. I appreciate the recommendation. I always appreciate recommendations. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember these afterwards because I'm really focused on both the drawing and sort of answering questions and being a host. So I just keep in mind that every once in a while I've forgotten things that people have recommended to me, and that's never meant as a slight to anyone. It's purely because I'm just Forgetful Jones. Does anybody remember Forgetful Jones? It was a Sesame Street character that could never remember anything, a cowboy. I don't know if they kept him over the years or if they ever phased him out. He was there when I was a kid. Doc Reasonable says Tales from the Tour Bus is pretty original. That's cool. All right. Comic Book Guy says he likes 70s blaxploitation, so he's looking forward to Black Panther. I'm not sure if that'll be too much like blaxploitation though. But I know what you mean. Yeah, stuff like Dolomite, things with Rudy Ray Moore and Shaft and all that stuff. There were some honestly like badass great movies. Pam Grier, come on. She's fantastic. It's interesting how sometimes like low budget stuff that's purely designed to sort of make a buck, just entertain just enough to make a buck. Like a lot of horror and stuff can end up becoming like really entertaining and like representative of its time and place in history. Like, and I think blaxploitation is definitely an example of that. It's doesn't all have to be good to still sort of give us an idea of what was going on at the time and to be entertaining, which in its own way does make it good. Like the acting and the technical aspects don't always have to be top notch to still be a good film. I love a lot of 70s and 80s kung fu movies, and some of them are really cheap, but you can also still sort of learn something about the time and place, and you can definitely be entertained. Yeah, that sounds like an interesting podcast, Mike. If we want to remind you of recommendations, etc., what is the best way? I've used Twitter a couple of times. Is that cool? Yeah, Twitter's totally fine. So, like, if anybody doesn't know, like, right up there above my head, that's my Twitter, and that's basically the best way to tell me about anything, and I'll be able to remember or click a link, etc. Um, I mean, I'm on stuff like Facebook and Instagram for sure, but Twitter's probably what I use the most. It's got its problems, that's for sure, but it's still my platform of choice overall. Hello, Average Comic Book Channel. Let's see. Julio Torrance says George Romero movies are great. No question, they really are. You ever see the George Romero movie Martin? That's an interesting one. Everybody talks about his vampire movie. Vampire. Everybody talks about his zombie movies. No question, they're incredible. They're really indicative of their time. They have something to say. But Martin is a fascinating movie that might be a vampire movie or it might not. It's very very unique and it's quite well done, um, and it's creepy, very creepy. George Romero from Pittsburgh. Does that mean that you're also from Pittsburgh, Mark Berner? Um, Earlier, we were all talking about today's free comic books and stuff, and talking about the one by Walt Simonson for Thor. During Walt Simonson's run on Thor, there's a really hilarious mention of Pittsburgh. Basically, Thor has become incredibly injured. I'm just keeping this really short. And he needs to create battle armor for himself. And he makes it out of Asgardian steel and he forges it himself. And he goes into battle with it for the first time. And he's like, forged in the. He's like, from the precious metals of Asgard and forged in the flaming pits of Pittsburgh, I now come at thee. It's just pretty great how he acts like Pittsburgh is on the same level as Asgard. You don't like Thor's dialogue? I love it. I love it. Um, would I ever cover 70s Kung Fu comics? Yeah, quite probably I will, comic book guy. I think I would love to cover Shang-Chi at some point. I think I've come a little close when I did my Iron Fist review, because that was definitely part of that whole sort of 70s Kung Fu invasion that Marvel jumped on. So I feel like I've talked about it to some degree there, but not necessarily as much on the exploitation elements. It was a little more specific to Iron Fist himself and just a weird story of his that I came across. So, yeah, maybe I didn't really cover it that well. I don't know. Sometimes it's hard for me to remember even like exactly what I talked about because I'm always making another episode. So sometimes it's quite hard to remember what I've already done. Like if you made me sit down and just write a list of what I've already done, I'd be forgetting a bunch of them already. And then if you ask me like what was in them, hard to say. So yeah, that's a pretty solid idea. I'm sure I'll cover a 70s Kung Fu at some point. According to Wikipedia, Walt Simonson was born in my hometown, but just like Quentin Tarantino, moved away when he was a small child. Aww. Doc Reasonable says Paul Gulacy's art was phenomenal. What was that from, though? We were probably talking about something. Mike says it's cool in contrast to regular dialogue, but trying to read an issue full of Asgardians is a burden. Well, I think you can overdo it, that's for sure. I think the trick is sort of not taking it too far. I think that the movies do a pretty good job of toning it down so that it's not all these and thous and everything. But I guess I'm a sucker for sort of unique dialogue. Uh, I like that show Spartacus from a few years back on Stars. They had a very unique way of talking. It was not really how you would translate Latin to English, but it was sort of like the idea of what you'd do if you did that. So I kind of like that. Well, dang. Why is that in my head? Yo, give me a beat. Julio says he hasn't seen Martin yet, and he'll check it out. Yeah, dude, I think you'll like it. If you feel like other George Romero movies, you'll definitely appreciate it. Oh, Paul Gulacy on Master of Kung Fu. Yes, thank you, Doc. I know what you're talking about. Would I cover Dick Tracy? I've definitely been giving that a lot of thought. Yes, not anytime super soon, but I will definitely cover Dick Tracy, the comic strips at some point. I've got stuff to say about that, yeah. See you, Keith. Thank you so much for stopping by. Yes, Doc, it is completely ridiculous that Thor and the other Asgardians speak sort of like in faux Shakespearean. It doesn't make any sense, but. Hmm. Uh, I mean, I don't know. Mike says that a gay friend of his used to recommend Spartacus with a big smile on his face, and that this friend used to always try to trick him. But I mean, if he's your friend, then you should trust him. Um, yeah, there are definitely some gay characters in there. They're pretty casual about that stuff, but I think it's pretty appropriate to the era. Mark says, I don't want to watch Brokeback Mountain because I don't want to turn into a cowboy. That's pretty good, Mark. I like that one. There's an awesome blog called Comics Make No Sense. The guy who does it is hilarious. There's a lot of material there, I'm sure. There's a lot of things in comics that will never make sense. Getting to the point where I'm just sort of doing lots of tiny details now. But that's kind of the most fun part. Not comics, but George MacDonald Fraser's Flashman novels are highly detailed and hilarious books featuring 19th century history. Wow, Doc says that he got a collection of Junji Ito manga thanks to my reviews. Amazing. I'm glad to hear that you liked it. That's really cool. Julio asks, "Am I ever going to draw a Ninja Turtle? They are very fun to draw." I absolutely will. I love Ninja Turtles. I'm sure I will draw one before this thing is over. Hello, Dark Dragon. Thanks for joining. In comics, I wish they wouldn't make gay a central part of a character's life. There are gay superheroes, but that shouldn't be just part of their that should be just part of their personality. I sort of know what you mean, but I think that it's something that takes time. First, there needs to be the representation, and then you can start digging deeper with the character. So it's a multi-step process that just has to happen. Hmm. Hmm. At the same time, though, we see straight characters hooking up and getting out of bed after a night of fun. But when gay characters do it, it's like, oh man, why are they pushing this on me? Kind of a double standard, if you ask me. I agree with you, Mike. I think that sometimes we have to just sort of go like, yeah, that's just a thing that happens. And if that is what they're focusing on at the time, that's what they're focusing on at the time. And we just have to sort of let stories accumulate before we really can judge them. Um, they're to sort of use my vernacular. They don't really become tropes for a while. It takes a while for this stuff to build. Um, I'm not saying that it's what anybody has to like, but it's also like, just let it ride. Mm, doesn't really bother me. It's getting cold tonight, so I built a big fire, but now my living room is hot, so I have the window open. That is a first world problem. Yes, it is, TARDIS Rider. Yes, it is. Good luck with that. Wow. You all have our sympathy. It's hard to get the temperature exactly right. I'm glad that you have a sense of humor about it. It's awesome. Just thinking my drawing through, folks. Thanks for bearing with me. Hey guys, remember all the fanfics where Boba Fett doesn't die? Yeah, there's a lot of those, aren't there? Wes Rules joins us and says, that would be good for a part of a story, but not every few scenes. I would like to see some action in American comics. Okay, not 100% sure what you're referring to, but yeah. Are you just using Bristol paper or typing paper for this? No, not typing paper. I don't think typing paper would take any of my inking tools without smudging. This is like a Bristol paper. Yeah. Mark says that he is a Pittsburgher, and my computer cut off right in the middle of your Thor Pittsburgh story. Oh, it's from Walt Simonson's run. He made himself some armor at one point, and he runs into battle, and he says, you know, forged of Asgardian steel in the fires of Pittsburgh, I now come at thee. It's pretty funny how much credit he gives to Pittsburgh there. All right, that's interesting, comic book guy, that you would say that Apollo and Midnighter are well rounded. I would say that they're not that well rounded. That they're pretty stereotypical, and then they just insert a bunch of action. But I'm not against them. I wouldn't necessarily call them the most nuanced characters. Um, but there are a lot of fun stories in there. Man, some of that Brian Hitch artwork alone is that stuff does it for me. I have one original page by Brian Hitch of Midnighter, and I love it. Proud to own it. Ooh, Doc Reasonable asks, who draws the best Hulk? Who draws the best Hulk? I might go with Dale Keown. I was a big fan of him. Yeah, that's sort of where I lean towards. I think that that's who I'd go with. But I'd have to think about it. I'd have, there are a number of other great Hulk artists, that's for sure. Dark Dragon asks, how did Boba Fett become so popular? That is the question, isn't it? I guess, you just have a sort of mysterious past. They didn't do much to explain who he was. He just sort of was. You know what helped him? Darth Vader talked directly to him when there was a whole bunch of new bounty hunters, and he was the guy that did successfully take in Han Solo. So that was, that's a pretty big accomplishment for a villain, especially a villain we've only just met and who doesn't have much to say. So I think that has something to do with it. But that's speculation. I don't know. It is a good question. Other people talk about Hulk artists that are their favorites. Herb Trimp. Yep, two people like him. That makes sense. He's pretty great. Um, all right, I lost the thread. I was trying to make sense of it. Oh wow, Doc says that he met Dale Keown at a convention in Sydney about 25 years ago. Wow. Is that near where you live or did live? Where are you? If you don't mind me asking, like where in Australia are you from, Doc? Australia is way up there on my list of like places that I want to visit. Like it would be probably the next place I'd visit if the choice was entirely up to me. And I'd also take a trip to um, New Zealand while there. It's where my grandfather was born, and I'd be curious to sort of see that part of my heritage. But yeah, I'd love to kind of I don't know. Australia really appeals to me. It's there's a lot to like about it. You guys have good healthcare, good gun control. Every place has its problems. I'm not saying it's perfect, but there's a lot to like about it. If I could easily get a job there, I would consider moving there. Todd McFarlane's Hulk was great, says Doc Reasonable. It was certainly popular in its time. There's no question about that. Um, who else was good? Was Mark Farmer the guy that did Hulk after Dale Keown? It's hard to remember now. That was pretty good. Trying to think of other good Hulk artists. I mean, Frank Cho is doing it now, and that's he's a pretty great artist. So he should probably be in the conversation of great Hulk artists. Hmm. Hmm. Did Brian Hitch do a run on Hulk? He might have. Can't really remember. If he did, I guess I didn't read it, so shouldn't waste too much time thinking about it. Comic book guy says, "What do you like about the '90s, Chris?" Um, the music, not the one-hit wonders per se. Just there was a lot of really great alternative rock that was developing at the time. Um, that was cool. Um, our economy was strong at the time, so I think a lot of us were living pretty well throughout the '90s. Like that. Um, I don't know that I liked a lot of the TV, but there were a lot of good movies. Um, yeah, some of what I liked. Doc lives in Canberra, which is 3 hours from Sydney. Yep. Come on down. We have some great conventions here. Would be great to meet you. Stan Lee is coming to Brisbane next month. Wow, Brisbane. You should consider going because first, Stan Lee is probably not going to be with us much longer. But specifically, he's definitely not going to many international conventions anymore. Like, that's probably one of his final ones. He doesn't even really go to Canada anymore. So if you ever wanted to meet him or see him, it's pretty much one of your last chances. Oh, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry you're not feeling well, Dark Dragon. I appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, I definitely like a lot of 90s comics. Comic book guy. A lot of what was coming out by Vertigo at the time was pretty fantastic. DC was really strong in the 90s. Um, then I have to really like dig a little deeper. Like at the time, I loved lots of stuff, but my tastes have sort of changed. I'm not as into all that stuff that I was into back then. So I'd have to think about it. Interesting question. I think a little bit more about the 70s and 80s than I do about the 90s, but the 90s was a good time for me. I was in college. I was trying new things, meeting interesting people. There's a lot to like about it. A lot of good memories. All right, what other questions are here? 90s had amazing video games. That's true. They definitely did. Chris, any thoughts on the new Doctor Who casting? I'm excited. A lot of potential for new kinds of stories. Three people as companions. I love that. Wanted that for quite a while. Like people other than just a young lady as a companion from modern day London. I just want something a little new there. So I was excited to see the that she is getting a bunch of companions. I'm totally excited for the actress that they cast. Her name right now is eluding me, but I did watch Broadchurch. I thought she was definitely a great actress in that, and yeah, it's just more story opportunities for Doctor Who. And I've been a fan of Doctor Who for a long time, so I'm excited to see some new types of stories being told. Um, you know, over 50 years old, like yeah, we gotta freshen things up, and so yeah, I'm definitely excited. I'm hopeful. Comic book guy says, "Do you think Simpsons should end?" Yeah, probably, probably, probably should have ended a while back. And you know what? I'm sure they still have some funny episodes sometimes, so it makes sense to a degree business wise. But yeah, at this point, I don't think that they have that much to gain. I think that they're like just sort of risking tarnishing their own legacy every year that they sort of stick around at this point because they've already. It's like I don't know. You've broken all these records. You've done every kind of story you can tell with these characters, more or less. I mean, unless you're going to just completely overhaul the writers' room and throw that open, in which case there probably are a bunch of new ideas, but it gets expensive too, probably. I don't know. It's I don't know what it has left to prove. So it's really only sticking around to earn money. Little depressing. I feel like the Simpsons of the early 90s would have made fun of that. I feel like they should just go ahead and make movies. Take some time and come up with really hilarious script and make some more movies. The Simpsons movie was really funny. Just do that. No, not the girl from Peep Show, Mike. She was a mother in Broadchurch, not the other detective. I'm talking about like I think it was the mom whose kid died in season one. It's been a little while since I watched it, but not the woman from Peep Show. Somebody else. Mike says that he didn't watch any of the Capaldi run. Wow. Um, no Doctor Who run is perfect, I'm sure, but and I wouldn't say that the 12th Doctor was my favorite, but there were definitely a lot of really good episodes in there. Um, but I'm a big Doctor Who fan. I'll watch all of it. I mean, I think I've watched everything you can watch of it. I don't care for Broadchurch myself, but that doesn't mean it's not good. Yeah, I mean, I sort of know what you mean there, TARDIS Rider. I'd not call it my favorite show. More just I respected a lot of what they did. I was like, all right, interesting mystery, good performances. Sometimes it's kind of depressing, so it wasn't really something I felt like watching. Um, were there 3 seasons? Because if there were, I've only watched 2 of them. And maybe at some point I'll get around to watching more of it, but I don't know. Doc Reasonable says, guys, do you think every good superhero story has been told by now? I mean, we have literally thousands of Spider-Man, Batman, etc. tales, all told over 50 to 70 years. No, definitely not. There's always going to be a new writer with a new take on the material. That'd be like saying every mystery or every western or every, whatever, drama, romantic comedy. That said, maybe it's time to give a lot of those superheroes a break. The only reason they don't is because they want to retain the rights and keep it available as an intellectual property that they can license for toys and movies. So like there's some insidious sort of business reasons for why these characters stick around as long as they do. But no, there's probably always going to be good stories worth telling with them. They just Need a break every once in a while. If it was up to me, at like Marvel or DC, I would just say these characters have like a 10-year run. Like the universe has a 10-year run. And then we reset and we let the next group of people sort of just do what they want with these characters. Um, yeah, that's how I'd treat it. I think 10 years is plenty long enough to have like some sort of a cohesive universe with like tons of different characters. And then just clean it up and start over. Tell the origin in a completely different way. Take the character in whatever direction you want. And if it's not working, just reboot. I don't know. Makes sense to me anyway. Software Agents Corp says that the only Doctor Who he's seen is Christopher Eccleston. Well, I would say that Eccleston is a great actor, and there were a few good stories towards the end of that season, but it's not really the best of Doctor Who. It was great to have it back as a fan, but I also wouldn't like. I wouldn't have started someone on Eccleston necessarily, or if I did, I'd just say like if you, as long as you can be patient and continue on and give Tennant's Run a chance. Because I think that that's where the show really starts to graduate, both with the types of ideas and stories it can tell and the production values themselves. I think some of takes a while for Eccleston's season to kind of get going. Like the first 5 episodes or so are a little like monotonous, um, or at least not the most original or exciting, um, in my opinion. Well, I suppose at this point, all I'm really doing is just doodling like little details and stuff to sort of make it look more complete, but that's probably not necessary. I mean, I've basically drawn the character. Um, just do a little bit more, but yeah. uh, I feel like I'm content to take a break here. Call it basically done. Yeah, it's kind of like that. So, do I need to move it to antisocial skills? You have serious skills, man. Oh, antisocial nerd. Oh, I totally misread that. I'm getting tired. Woo! I don't know about all that, but thank you very much for the compliment. That's had fun drawing tonight. Had fun chatting with all of you. Yep, yep. I think that's how the Sarlaac looked, with a bunch of sort of little tentacles, and I'm kind of drawing him in This is like about the only thing in the special editions that I could deal with was it having a beak. I was like, guess, sure. I don't know if it makes sense or not, but it looked fine. I hated most of those special edition changes. I got some of the like really old DVDs that were basically they only transfer the um, old Laserdisc version, but at least it's the original unedited Star Wars movies, and that's the only ones I want to see. I don't like any of the special edition changes, so I just I just can't enjoy the movie that way. I know that sounds so nerdy and nitpicky, but I cannot enjoy any of those changes. It always just feels like the movie's been fucked with. So yeah, I've got these DVDs, and I'd rather have not great visuals, but the actual story, and I'll just fill in the blanks with my imagination for the visuals. Um, those are the versions that I watch, and that's the only versions I don't have. I don't even own the special editions because I don't like them. People are like, oh, some of the changes are okay, like this and that. I'm like, yeah, a few of the changes are okay, but none of them really make it better, in my opinion. I mean, is it cleaner? Yeah, but is it better? No, I don't think so. You know, everybody's got their own opinion, so maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm too weird a fan. And see, like Mike is saying, Empire changes weren't too bad. Uh, Doc Reasonable says, Boss Drawing, Chris, do you have any more pro jobs in the pipeline? No, I don't right now. I'm just sort of you can sort of fit it in. Hi, Milos. The topic was fall, so I drew Boba Fett falling into the Sarlaac pit. I think I'll call it there. Um, no matter how you look at it, Han shot last. Well, that's true. He did shoot last. I think he was the only shot. I hate how that looks in the special edition. No matter what version it is, I hate how that looks when Han just sort of like his head just sort of goes like, but there's no facial reaction, there's no body movement. He just shifts to the side. Oh my god, it looks so bad to me, so bad. And then like when he talks to Jabba the Hutt and he steps on his tail, I'm like, whoa, why is he stepping on his tail and acting like it's no big deal? And Jabba's just like, whoa, I hate it. I hate it. Oh, oh, most people hate the special edition changes, says Software Agents Corp. Well, I do. I wish it didn't bother me as much as it did because I would love really beautiful transfers with like the sharpest image and the best sound. I really am a stickler for that in most cases, but I just cannot watch those versions of Star Wars. It actually makes me mad. So I watch my old versions. All right. Yeah, I know, Mike, why it was done that way, but it just does not look good. Just my opinion. Yes, Battle of Hoth looks better. Like and the blacks in certain space battles and the Battle of Hoth, sometimes you could see through the black a little to see like what was like the AT-AT walkers. You'd see them through the black of like a panel on the speeder. Look bad. I'd rather deal with that than the edits. That's me. Oh yeah, yeah. You know what, guys? We could talk about this forever, but I do still love Star Wars, and so yeah, that's my take on Boba Fett. Let me do one quick thing before I leave. I'm gonna just sort of zoom in on him a little bit, and then I'm gonna take off. Is it like that? Is that how I zoom in? I think so. All right, so I sort of have him falling. That's why, like, I drew the cape up like this, and his little Wookiee scalp braids are sort of dangling, and tried to just give it perspective into the mouth of the Sarlacc. And honestly, I'm glad I didn't start with the Sarlacc because I could have spent so much time just like shading in these tentacles and like giving this texture and like dealing with the shadow here, like I could spend a lot more time on this and have a lot fun. This is fun for me, like doing like these shadows and details. But it's not as important to the drawing as getting Boba Fett in there. So there's my Boba Fett. Yeah, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. And let's see, what's tomorrow's prompt? I never look ahead, but we only have a few more days of this, so I'll have to do Ninja Turtles pretty soon. All right, folks, you've been a wonderful audience. I really appreciate the questions. There were a lot of new faces tonight. If I missed one of your questions, it was purely because I was distracted with the drawing. Yeah, up above my head there, that's my Twitter. If you want to tell me about like a recommendation for a comic, a podcast, show your artwork, etc., hit me up on Twitter at that link. That's usually the best way to reach me. Thanks everybody for watching. I'll be back tomorrow night, same bat time, same bat channel. And until then, keep reading comics.